Hello everybody and welcome to part 2 on the Mercedes S-Class shed. Today I'm going to be taking a look underneath and just giving it a bit of a once over, and we'll see how good or bad it really is. For this I'm here at JS Motors in Kidlington. Eugene and Alison have always been so helpful to me, so thank you so much guys. If you need servicing, anything like that, MOTs, these guys are just brilliant, so helpful. Okay, it's plugged into the code reader. Let's see what it's showing. 2 codes for the engine. One is cylinder shut-off all pressure sensor, and secondary air injector system malfunction right bank. Don't know how serious those are. They don't sound very serious, but you never know. Okay, so anti-lock brakes, which we suspect there is an issue with. Those codes for the anti-lock brakes, they refer to the steering wheel sensor, which is quite interesting because I noticed driving it over, as I mentioned previously, that the wheel doesn't actually sit straight. Transmission, no codes present. So that's pretty good. Airbag, child seat occupation recognition, which is what we think that SRS light is. So that just confirms what I thought. Suspension, quite an important one. Let's see what comes up for that. No codes present, so that's pretty good. Let's lift it up and see what we can see underneath. Starting at the back, and it's all looking disappointingly good. The whole bottom of the car at first glance looks quite clean. So there's an exhaust bracket here that's sheared off, but that's not exactly a big deal. The rear discs actually have a bit of a lip on them, but they're still legal, so they're all right. Interestingly, on this side, they have disconnected the wear sensor for the pads, and it's really hard to see. I can't see in there how far gone the pads are, so I'm going to have to take the wheels off and have a look at that. But that's obviously quite telling. Apart from that, everything looks okay. There's no play. The back of the sills here, where the car is jacked up, they're infamous for going. This one's got a bit of surface rust, but I tried to push it through earlier with a nail, and it's still solid, so that's actually pretty good for one of these. That is not bad at all. I might treat that if I can be bothered. And on the other side, it looks pretty clean as well. There's all this plastic shielding, so it's hard to see behind it, but I think it's definitely not too bad. So that's all good. All the joints here for the transmission pop, they're good. The exhaust generally, you know, it shows wear, but it's not bad. Quite telling. The steering rod, I don't know if you can see, is quite bent. So I wonder if that error code that we had for the steering position sensor is to do with that, basically. So it can tell what the steering is doing, and it can tell, so the car's going straight, but the wheel isn't straight, and that's probably what all that is about. And I was just talking to Eugene, who works here, and he thinks that's also why I'm getting that ESP thing rather than the rings. So interesting to see that. There is that one isn't too bad. I think there's a bit of play in one of these ball joints. Yeah. There's a bit of play in that ball joint there, but it's not bad. I don't think that would be an MOT fail. I think everything looks pretty clean and not too bad. The discs are very good, and there's hardly any wear on them. The pads as well, had a look at those earlier, and they're pretty new too, so that's all really good. These tyres, they're sort of winters, but they're not bad. There's a bit of oil misting in the usual areas, but nothing to really worry about. So all in all, I'd say it's disappointingly good. I'm going to have to do something about this bent rod, and that may sort out the ESP issues as well. So, if there's one car where having some classical music playing is apt, it's definitely this big tank. I think we've seen it's not a terrible one. It does have some issues, but it's not really that bad, which means I don't think I'm just gonna, you know, set fire to it or anything like that. Unfortunately, probably would have been more fun. I think I'm just gonna knock around with it for a bit and see what happens. But that front arm, I've already ordered one. They're about £20, so I'm happy to change that because the cruise control is actually quite important in this. I've been using it to do long distance stuff, and having the cruise will be a big thing, so I want to see if that solves everything. That's a good thing, and it's a safety thing too. So for £20 I'm going to change that myself, and that's absolutely fine. The question is what to do about everything else. Since it's been up on the ramp, it's given me another little gift, and that is a proper engine check light, which I assume is probably linked to those warnings that I saw before for the oil pressure sensor and the variable valve timing, whatever it is. It's still driving absolutely perfectly, but I think the fact that it's come up as an engine check light now means I'll have to have a look again and see what's going on there. See if it's maybe worth resolving it or not. It depends how in depth it is. That code reader I'm using is not Mercedes specific, so I'm not sure how accurate and specific those codes are that I got through it, but I don't know. Thing is, it does drive amazingly well. On a long run, it'll get like 33 miles to the gallon on just motorway stuff, so I'm pretty impressed with it. The rust on the side, I'm quite tempted to just do it myself, just for a laugh, because I mean it's not going to look worse than it is now. Just fill it, rattle can it, see how good I can get that, but it all depends now on when I fit that arm at the front, whether it sorts out the error message, ABS, all that stuff. And then also just to see these warning lights for the engine, how easy or simple they are to sort out. If it's all sort of relatively straightforward, then I think that I might have a go at just making it a bit prettier, a bit nicer, and then just carry on using it, because it's actually a great way to get from A to B. And I'm used to sort of sporty cars and fun cars. I wouldn't say this is fun, but it's actually quite, you pilot it really more than drive it, but that has its own appeal really. I've never had a luxury car or anything like this, and for £900, I don't know, I'm quite pleased with it really. I've thought about those error codes for the engine, and I think the best thing is actually to take it to Mercedes itself and get them to give me an estimate and to tell me more in depth exactly what the problem is. I think that will also be interesting anyway, because as part of that, it's a checkup I'm going to have to pay for, and as part of that they will give me a full breakdown of everything that they think needs changing and how much it's going to cost. So I think that's going to make for a really interesting video, so we'll have that on the next one. But all being well, and there not being anything catastrophically wrong, I'm definitely going to paint up that rear quarter as well, because I think it's just a shame. The car's actually pretty nice, and that little scabby rust, of course it will come back. You know, I'm not going to cut any metal out, but you know, it will hold for a couple of years or whatever, and it won't look quite as scabby, hopefully. Anyway, keep an eye open for the next video. Please do subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you need to contact me, Instagram is the best way, the messenger on that. So thanks again, and see you for the next video. I can't wait.